There's a moment in every woman's mind she'll never confess to you, not even to her closest friends, not even to herself in the beginning. It's the moment she realizes that your silence feels louder than any words you ever spoke. It's the moment she begins to feel your absence in her body, not just her thoughts. It's the moment she starts wondering why the man she expected to chase suddenly doesn't. And this is where her psychology begins to shift in ways she'll never admit openly, because silence, when used correctly, does not push her away. It pulls her in. Most men misunderstand silence. They see it as a timeout, a reaction, a punishment, or a strategy. But a woman doesn't respond to silence because you stop talking. She responds to silence because it disrupts her prediction of you. Women are emotional creatures of pattern. Once they understand your emotional habits, how fast you reply, how eager you are, how available you become, they feel in control. They know your rhythm. They expect your attention. They rely on your reaction. They assume you will always be emotionally accessible. But the moment you step out of that pattern, everything changes. The moment your energy shifts from pursuit to presence, she feels it. The moment you stop feeding the dynamic she used to control, her comfort cracks. Because a woman doesn't chase silence, she chases the mystery silence creates. Your silence is not powerful because you're gone. Your silence is powerful because she doesn't know why you're gone. And that uncertainty attacks her ego long before it touches her heart. She starts asking herself questions she never asked before. Did he lose interest? Did he meet someone? Why isn't he reacting to me? Why does his absence feel different this time? Every one of those questions is a small wound to her pride, and every wound pulls her deeper into the emotional chase. She won't admit it. She'll pretend she's fine. She'll post something subtle. She might even mirror your silence to protect her image. But internally, she's spiraling because silence forces a woman to face her own insecurities, and insecurity is the fuel of feminine pursuit. But the real secret, the one she'll never admit, is this. Your silence doesn't make her chase you. Your emotional independence does. The calm behind the silence, the confidence behind the distance, the lack of emotional neediness behind the pause, that is what triggers her attraction. That is what flips the polarity. That is what makes her realize she is losing access to a man she once believed she fully understood. Silence is not avoidance. Silence is evolution. Silence is not punishment. Silence is recalibration. Silence is not a tactic. Silence is the energy of a man who chooses himself first. And when she feels that, when she senses that your silence isn't weakness but strength, that's when she begins to chase. Not because you ignored her, but because you became the man who no longer needs to be heard to be felt. Before we start, a quick reminder. The real transformation doesn't happen on YouTube. It happens inside the community. If these videos have opened your eyes, what's inside will rebuild your mindset completely. It's not just a course, it's a brotherhood. A private space where men master attraction, emotional control, and the psychology of power. You don't join for a month, you join for life. Every future course, book, and lesson is yours forever. No subscriptions, no limits, just one decision that changes your direction. If you're serious about growth, discipline, and purpose, click the link below. Join the community. Enroll once, grow forever. Let's dive in. Section 1. Why silence hits her ego before it touches her heart. Silence does not begin by touching a woman's emotions. It begins by touching her ego. And this is the part men never understand. A woman doesn't feel your absence because she misses you. She feels it because she no longer controls the emotional rhythm she was accustomed to. Women depend on emotional predictability in the same way men depend on visual clarity. When she knows exactly how you respond, how quickly you react, how deeply you care, and how available you remain, she feels secure in her position. She believes she can influence your mood, your availability, and your emotional decisions. This psychological certainty is what allows her to behave however she wants without fearing consequences. But when you take that certainty away with silence, not reactive silence, not angry silence, not dramatic silence, but calm, grounded, emotionally independent silence, her ego absorbs the first impact. Silence is the first time she realizes she cannot predict you anymore. She does not know what you are thinking. She does not know what you are feeling. She does not know what you are planning to do next. And this loss of emotional control forces her to confront something uncomfortable. She may not be as important to you as she believed. When her ego starts cracking, she begins scanning for explanations. She wants to know why you shifted. She wants to know why the certainty she enjoyed has suddenly disappeared. She starts replaying recent moments, analyzing the last conversation, wondering if she did something wrong, or questioning whether she pushed too far. And each unanswered question becomes a thread she pulls in her mind, creating a deeper sense of unease. This discomfort is not heartbreak, it is wounded pride. But wounded pride is the gateway to emotional curiosity, and emotional curiosity is the beginning of the chase. The power of silence is that it forces her to look inward for answers she cannot find outward. She cannot investigate your tone because there are no messages. She cannot study your reactions because you are not responding. She cannot read your energy because you are no longer offering it freely. And this absence of information becomes louder than words. Women chase what they don't understand, and your silence transforms you into a question she cannot answer. When you used to respond instantly, she felt in control. When you used to show interest, she felt secure. When you used to initiate, she felt desired. But when you become silent with purpose, she feels something she cannot admit. She feels threatened by the idea that another woman may now have your attention, threatened by the possibility that your emotions are no longer tied to hers, threatened by the fear that she may have overestimated your investment, threatened by the thought that you might actually be moving on. Her ego tries to convince her she doesn't care, but her mind begins to search for you, and her emotions begin to follow. This is why silence is powerful. It does not make her chase because she misses you. It makes her chase because she no longer feels certain she matters to you. And nothing pulls a woman harder than the fear of losing a man she assumed she already had. Section 2. How silence breaks her emotional pattern and reverses the power dynamic. Every woman operates through emotional patterns. These patterns are subconscious loops built from past experiences, expectations, and the behaviors she has learned to rely on from the men in her life. When she knows how a man responds, she feels safe in her role. She knows when to pull away, when to come closer, when to test boundaries, and when to relax. Predictability gives her confidence. Predictability gives her an advantage. Predictability gives her the illusion of control, and the moment that illusion is broken, the emotional dynamic flips. Silence breaks her pattern because it disrupts the emotional script she expected you to follow. She thought you would reach out first. She thought you would try to fix things quickly. She thought you would chase after any small sign of disconnection. She thought you would keep showing interest, even when she gave you very little in return. But when your silence shatters that expectation, she loses the emotional map she used to navigate the connection. She no longer knows how to influence you, how to trigger you, or how to pull you back into her orbit. And this confusion forces a psychological reset inside her mind. Women do not chase men they understand. They chase men they cannot predict. When you withdraw your presence and stop feeding the old dynamic, she is left standing in an emotional space she does not recognize. She thought she understood you. She thought she understood your feelings. She thought she understood your intentions. But now, your silence forces her to question everything. Every message you didn't send, every call you didn't make, every reaction you didn't give becomes a mirror reflecting a new version of you, one she never expected. And this new version of you shifts the entire balance of power. Before silence, she felt in control. After silence, she feels destabilized. Before silence, she managed the rhythm. After silence, she follows it. Before silence, she assumed your emotional availability. After silence, she fears your emotional detachment. This shift is not created through manipulation. It is created through unexpected strength. A man who responds with silence is no longer reacting out of emotion. He is acting out of clarity. And women feel the difference between the silence of confusion and the silence of confidence. Confusion feels weak, confidence feels heavy, and when your silence carries the weight of emotional independence, it pierces her assumptions and reverses the dynamic completely. The entire power structure flips because you remove the one thing she relied on, your predictability. She cannot anticipate your next move because you are no longer moving in reaction to her. She cannot dictate the tone because she no longer receives immediate responses. She cannot decide when the connection breathes because you stopped supplying the oxygen she took for granted. Silence becomes the boundary she never expected you to enforce. And once the pattern breaks, the chase begins. Not because she suddenly wants you more, but because she wants back the emotional control your silence quietly took away. She won't admit it, but the man who breaks the pattern becomes the man she can't stop thinking about. Section 3, why silence triggers her curiosity, and how curiosity turns into obsession. When a man goes silent with intention, something subtle yet powerful begins inside a woman's mind. At first, it's simply curiosity, a gentle, almost harmless wondering about why you haven't reached out, why your presence feels different, why your energy no longer surrounds her the way it used to. She might shrug it off, tell herself she doesn't care, distract her mind with routines, conversations, or social media. But the truth is, a woman cannot ignore an emotional shift she did not expect. And silence, when delivered from a place of strength, is exactly that, an emotional shift that disrupts her sense of familiarity. Curiosity becomes the first crack in her emotional armor. It's the first moment she begins to pay attention in ways she pretends she doesn't. She starts checking your profile just to see something. She scrolls through old messages to remind herself of who you were. She replays previous conversations, trying to decode your intentions. And she begins to notice the absence of your attention like a shadow in the room. Curiosity is quiet, but it is constant. And once it starts, it doesn't stop. But what makes curiosity so powerful is that it never stays curiosity. It always evolves. Curiosity grows into analysis. Analysis turns into overthinking. And overthinking becomes emotional pressure. She starts wondering if she misjudged you, if she pushed too far, if she misread your feelings, if she underestimated your strength. She wonders if your silence is a sign of growth, a sign of indifference, or a sign of newfound direction. And the more she tries to guess the reason, the more she becomes emotionally invested in the outcome. This is where curiosity transforms into obsession. Obsession begins the moment she realizes she doesn't have answers. Women are highly sensitive to uncertainty. Psychologically, they are wired to seek emotional clarity. When you remove clarity, she begins to search for patterns, meaning, and intention. She studies your silence like a puzzle. She checks your online activity. She pays attention to who you follow, what you post, how you move, or even how you don't move. Silence turns your presence into a mystery she feels compelled to solve. And the deeper her uncertainty grows, the more she starts imagining scenarios that never existed. She begins to think about other women, about your potential growth, about your emotional detachment. Even mild insecurity becomes amplified by silence because silence removes the feedback loop she depended on. She no longer knows if you're thinking about her, if you're moving on, if you're changing, or if she has been replaced in your priorities. She feels the loss of control not as a logical thought, but as an emotional ache. Curiosity becomes obsession because her mind cannot rest until the pattern makes sense again. And you are no longer part of the pattern she remembers. You are now unpredictable. You are now unresponsive. You are now unavailable. This version of you creates a psychological tension she cannot dissolve on her own. Silence becomes the unspoken question that echoes in her mind. Why isn't he acting like the man I thought I knew? And that question is what pulls her back toward you. Not because she misses you, but because she cannot stand not knowing what you're becoming. Silence makes her chase because it creates the mystery her ego has no answer for. Section 4. How silence forces her to confront her fears and insecurities. Silence is not powerful because it creates distance. Silence is powerful because it forces a woman to face the fears she hides from everyone, even herself. When a man goes quiet with calm confidence, he creates an emotional environment where she no longer has access to the reassurance she secretly depended on. She cannot check your tone through your messages. She cannot measure your interest through your responses. She cannot read your emotions through your reactions. And without those emotional cues, she's left alone with her insecurities. That is where the real chase begins. Every woman carries silent fears she will never admit. The fear of being replaced, the fear of losing influence, the fear of not being valued as much as she thought. The fear that a man she underestimated might actually outgrow her. When your silence expands, these fears begin to surface one by one. They don't appear loudly, they don't appear dramatically, they appear quietly in the spaces where she once relied on your emotional consistency. Your silence becomes the mirror where she sees everything she tried to avoid. At first, she tries to fight these insecurities with logic. She tells herself you are just busy. She tells herself you are acting cold on purpose. She tells herself you will eventually give in and reach out. She tells herself you haven't changed that much. But the longer you remain silent, the more fragile these excuses become. She begins to notice the difference between a man who is silent because he is emotional and a man who is silent because he has elevated. This second version is the one that frightens her. Your silence feels too calm, too stable, too self-contained, too unaffected. And nothing scares a woman more than the realization that a man she once controlled emotionally now stands firmly outside her influence. This fear deepens when she starts imagining alternatives. She begins to picture you moving on, exploring new connections, focusing on your goals, or simply redirecting your energy towards something greater than her. These images are not fantasies, they are threats to her ego, and her ego reacts first. It tells her she must check on you, test you, signal you, or find a way to pull you back into emotional alignment. This is not love, this is insecurity. But insecurity is the fuel that begins her pursuit. Silence forces her to confront another fear she rarely reveals, the fear that she miscalculated your value. When you become silent, composed, and distant, she begins rethinking everything you offered that she took for granted: your stability, your consistency, your presence, your emotional warmth. Suddenly, all of it becomes more precious in her memory. And memory is powerful. It edits the past. It highlights what she ignored. It magnifies what she dismissed. Silence triggers regret because regret thrives in emotional uncertainty. The final fear she confronts is the most painful one. The fear that she is losing a man who is becoming more valuable with every moment of silence he invests in himself. This fear is what flips her psychology. She no longer sees you as the man who wanted her. She sees you as the man she might lose forever if she doesn't act. And when a woman feels that fear, her pride collapses and her pursuit begins. Silence does not make her chase because she misses you. Silence makes her chase because she is terrified of what your evolution means for her. The silent power moves you make are what she feels without you saying a word. The reason silence becomes so powerful is not because you disappear, but because of the quiet transformations that happen behind the scenes while you are gone. Women are incredibly intuitive when it comes to sensing changes in a man's energy, confidence, and direction, even when they have no direct access to him. Silence becomes the bridge between who you were and who you are becoming. These silent power moves are what she feels long before she ever sees the proof. The first silent power move is the rebuilding of your emotional center. When a man begins to depend on himself for peace instead of seeking it from a woman, something fundamental changes in the way he moves. He becomes more patient, more grounded, more controlled. And although she cannot hear your voice or see your face, she feels this shift through the absence of reactive energy. The man who once responded emotionally now responds with nothing but calm distance. This calmness unsettles her because it signals growth she cannot influence. The second silent power move is redirecting your focus toward your goals. When you stop revolving around her and begin revolving around your purpose, your silence carries a weight she cannot explain. Women can feel when a man is no longer emotionally orbiting them. They can sense when his time, his mind, and his ambition are being poured into something that elevates him. This is the version of you she feared the most, the version she expected would only appear if she stayed in your life to motivate or inspire you. Seeing this level of personal evolution happen without her involvement creates internal conflict she tries to ignore, but cannot escape. The third silent power move is improving your physical presence, not for her, not for validation, but for yourself. When you begin taking care of your body again, training, grooming, changing your style, moving with confidence, she feels a shift she wasn't prepared for. Women have a sensory instinct for male momentum. They can detect when a man is elevating his attractiveness without even seeing the details. A man who becomes more confident in his appearance becomes more unpredictable in his choices. And unpredictability triggers her anxiety and curiosity at the same time. The fourth silent power move is pulling your emotional signature out of her life. Women don't miss your presence. They miss the emotional impact your presence had. Your kindness, your reassurance, your attention, your warmth, your stability. All of this was energy she subconsciously relied on. When your silence removes that emotional nourishment, she feels the loss deeply. She begins to wonder who now receives the energy she once had exclusive access to. This is not jealousy. This is fear wrapped in ego. The fifth silent power move is the acceptance that you may not want her back, not as a strategy, not as manipulation, not as a punishment, but as a natural result of your evolution. When she senses that your silence comes from freedom rather than frustration, her ego collapses under the weight of uncertainty. The idea that you might have outgrown her, healed beyond her, or moved past her shakes the foundation of her confidence. Silence becomes powerful not because you stopped speaking, but because you started becoming the man she always doubted you would become. And that is the transformation she feels long before she ever sees it. A transformation that makes her chase without even understanding why. In the end, the real power of silence was never about disappearing. It was never about ignoring her, proving a point, making her jealous, or playing a temporary game to trigger a temporary emotion. The power of silence lies in the way it reshapes you from the inside out. Because when your silence comes from strength instead of fear, direction instead of confusion, and self-respect instead of emotional need, you stop being the man she expected and become the man she cannot forget. Silence is not a tactic. Silence is a transformation. It is the moment you stop negotiating for attention and start cultivating identity. It is where you learn that the most powerful thing a man can control is not what he says, but what he no longer reacts to. It is where you discover that a woman does not follow your words. She follows your energy. And when that energy becomes grounded, stable, calm, and self-sufficient, she feels the shift even when you are not there. The truth she'll never admit is simple. She was prepared for your silence, but she was not prepared for your evolution. She expected you to need her attention to feel whole. She expected you to chase her validation to feel worthy. She expected you to break the moment she walked away. But when your silence becomes the space where you rebuild your confidence, strengthen your boundaries, sharpen your purpose, and rise into a man with direction, she loses the emotional advantage she thought she owned. Losing that advantage is the one thing her ego cannot handle. This is why she comes back, not because you punished her with silence, but because you transformed within it. Not because she misses the old version of you, but because the new version stands above everything she once believed about you. Not because you begged for attention, but because you stopped needing it altogether. Your silence becomes the proof of your growth. Your growth becomes the source of her regret, and her regret becomes the force that pulls her back toward you. No matter how much pride she tries to hide behind, the truth is this: a woman does not chase the man who disappears. She chases the man who becomes too valuable to lose. Silence is only powerful when it turns you into that man, the man who is no longer defined by her approval, no longer shaped by her reactions, and no longer weakened by her absence. You didn't win by speaking, you won by rising. And the moment your silence becomes a reflection of your strength, she begins to feel something she cannot escape. The realization that she lost access to a man who is finally choosing himself over everything that once held him back. That is the silent truth. That is the power she never saw coming, and that is why she chases you, not because you went quiet, but because you became the man she never expected your silence would create. Remember, knowledge means nothing without action.